Hey,
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. So, for everyone joining the podcast for probably we'll see. Let's say first time. We've been changing our format a little bit, so this could actually be the first podcast, and I think the topic that we have today is actually quite fitting for as a first podcast as well. So the question was why start a wedding photography podcast? You listen to quite a few wedding related podcasts, right?
I do, yeah. I really like the vendor table because they're really funny. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
I listen to a couple like business related ones that are either like local to here, or I am taking like a business course too that I listen to.
Okay.
And it's just fun.
And the vendor table one, I think I've only seen like a clips of it like on Instagram. I don't think I've ever listened to the full episode.
Oh, okay.
But do you think that's more geared towards like a wedding photographers, like as the name suggests, the vendor table, or is it more for couples, do you think?
It kind of depends on like the topic. It's more like they're having like a conversation with each other, and then like they share like really funny things sometimes, or they'll have like somebody be on the podcast kind of talking. Like one of them I watched recently that was kind of funny was talking about like makeup application for wedding days. So
Okay.
sometimes there's different topics and like different people that come on.
Okay, so it's really like just sort of like just really anything wedding related.
Yeah, yeah. From what I've seen
Okay.
so far, yeah.
Cool, cool. Okay. Well, our focus is going to be mostly for the wedding couples. It can be more traditional weddings, or it can be more adventure weddings and adventure elopement sort of style as well. Lisa and I both enjoy the adventure side of things as well. Lisa is based in Seattle, Washington area. So she loves going up to Mount Rainier, North Cascade. What are some of the other ones that you go to?
Any of the national parks, state parks, any place beautiful, Pacific Northwest.
Nice, nice. Yeah. No, I do envy you living in the Pacific Northwest is a spot for a lot of the adventure stuff. I'm based in Las Vegas, also surrounded by a lot of national parks. I feel like it's a little bit bigger in terms of a little bit more driving to do.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like 5 hours to Grand Canyon. I love going to Death Valley, which is only 2 hours away. Zion National Park, 3 hours away. And then there's Sedona, going a little bit further out, Moab. Places like that is amazing. Joshua Tree is about 3.5 hours away. Yosemite, just on the other side of the Sierra Nevada. So there are quite a few. There are a few good options here as well.
Is that round trip for you or is that one way when you're saying like 3 hours?
No, one way. Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's about the same for me for Mount Rainier and North Cascades and like
Oh
anywhere
yeah.
I'm going.
Uh-huh.
It's like at least 3 hours one way, but I don't mind it because like I listen to a good podcast and also there's like so many good audiobooks. But your
Yes. Yeah.
places are a bucket list for me. So I do love the Pacific Northwest, but I definitely like all of the national parks up there and those
Mm.
places are like we don't have stuff like that here.
It's definitely a very contrast environment. It's very nice and wet. You guys, sometime if it snows a little bit too much, then you guys only open for just a little bit of summer, and then
Yep.
you might have to close back down.
Yes, you have to like the snow and the rain here for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Here, a lot of the dry spots. I mean, literally, Death Valley is. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it is the hottest place in the world.
Oh, wow.
So yes, so don't go there during the summer. And when I say summer, I feel probably end of May to beginning of September. Yeah, don't go there. Even when I did an overnight shoot there, it was like 108 at the coolest temperature.
Oh, wow. But the stars are incredible.
It is, yes, it
Yeah.
is. It is the darkest sky, I think, in the mainland US. So yeah, definitely worth. I think probably that's why I think it's best to go in May when it's not
Okay.
as hot, but at the same time you can see a lot of the stars, a lot of the Milky Ways
Now I'm
out.
even more bummed I'm not coming in May.
So yeah, no, but I mean, hopefully, it'll be a little bit cooler summer this year. Hopefully there will be a little bit of rain. But yeah, we'll see. Okay, we'll get into a lot of the actual topic about
Yeah, we get
about the
so
why.
excited about adventure, we get sidetracked.
Exactly. Yes, yes, exactly. Um, So one of the reasons that we thought of doing this podcast together as a wedding photographers for all of our wedding clients is really because I feel like all the wedding photographers are so different. I mean, even just in this introduction, we talk about traditional weddings and adventure weddings. There are photographers who focus based solely on luxury style, like a traditional weddings with a lot of guests and things like that. And on the other spectrum, we have more of a adventure weddings that sometimes it could be an elopement with just a couple or with very few guests. And the way you plan that wedding and the way you pick out a wedding photographer for that wedding is going to be very different. So we thought we'd create a podcast that hopefully will help couples along the way. If there's any questions that you want to ask to the photographers, hopefully this will be like a place you can come back and search for the information that you're looking for, and hopefully we'll provide it.
Yeah, and I think it'll help too for like, I think a lot of couples are kind of at the beginning stages, even for like some of my more adventure clients are kind of planning whether they want like a micro wedding, do they want to have a real wedding and an elopement, do they want to like incorporate any traditions? And like, I'm very pro do whatever you want. And
Mm.
hopefully this podcast will kind of go into like all the different options and kind of like, if you want to do something like this is kind of what we recommend. And then maybe answering some questions people don't even know that they have.
Yeah, I think that's the key.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, people have a lot of questions that they don't even realize they had one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I think part of it is like trying to find like the right wedding photographer because, like you said, you know, every photographer is going to be different and every couple's so different and every wedding and elopement is so different.
Yeah, yeah. We sort of started answering our first question, but very first question I have prepared for this podcast is what challenges do couples face when finding the right wedding photographer? Do you want to have a go at it first?
Sure, sure. I feel like everybody's so different, like I was saying. Even though we are very similar, I think in kind of our approach, like storytelling is really important to both of us.
Mm.
But I feel like I really try to get to know my couples the same that you do. Something that I don't offer right now is videography. And so, like, that's something that you're able to kind of like guide your couples with. And like, I'm not including albums in my packages. You are. And I think that's so great. Even like in how you kind of build that custom like proposal for the couple to really include everything that they want. And it doesn't mean that my way is like the right way or your way is the right way. It's really about serving them
Mm.
and kind of bringing like our own unique approach to each side.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think Lisa and I share a lot of different things in terms of how we're running the business, but at the same time, we're two different people. When it comes to, running our business philosophy and what we believe in, oftentimes will be different. And I think the game of this finding the right clients is really finding people who you will connect well with on the wedding day.
Oh, definitely.
I haven't really actually like really observed, but if I'm not mistaken, I think we as a wedding photographer might be the one that couples spend the most amount of time on the wedding day.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
More than any of the friends, more than any of the bridesmaids, or even, any of the vendors. Yeah, we're right next to the couples all day through.
Hmm.
So you really have to get along. I'm not just saying in terms of like you just vibing right together, but in terms of, every decision that we're making together on the wedding day has to be for something that you love and something that you value and something that's going to look pretty. And hopefully that wedding photographer will know exactly what you're talking about in a very, probably with one or two sentences.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just I feel like it's just the funneling down system, and oftentimes because there are so many different type of photographers, couples, when they start the journey of searching for the photographers, they don't often know like where to start.
Yeah.
Probably I think probably the best place to start is just really just reaching out to the photographer and see what they what do they say about some of the questions that you have. Uh,
Oh, yeah. I
yeah.
think like just the wedding consult is so important. Like, I do know like some other businesses that don't do a consult.
Mm.
Like you can just book, but I feel like I'm very hands on. And because I like really care about the couple and kind of like their wants for the day, like the consult is so crucial to like
Mm.
not just the questionnaire and the planning and like the engagement session, but like just that first touch base call to make sure like you're the right fit and make sure like you can, really connect with the couple and see where you can serve them best too.
Yeah. You do the consults before the booking, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I think I know you mentioned there are a lot of photographers who don't do consults, but there are a lot of
Yeah.
photographers who do the consults only after they book. And I do the consults before the booking as well. But I think that's really try to set the right expectation.
Yes.
If we're not vibing, if anything that we offer, even if it looks good on the paper, if it doesn't look good like a person to person, there's no point of booking.
Yeah.
So we don't want you to book unless.
Yeah. Well, and also I feel like so many like they love Mount Rainier for me and they're like,
Mm,
we're not hikers. Like we do not want to go up that mountain. I'm like,
mm,
listen, we can literally drive up. Like if these mountain views are really important to you and you guys love the
yeah.
like beautiful Pacific Northwest, it's kind of like just steering them in the right direction because it's like, I don't want someone to just book 6 hours of wedding photography. Like if they want like a stress-free day, they want tons of candidates, they have like over, 100 people and they want to have time to like be in the moment, then it's a disservice to just like book them and then not have them, have a package and all the services that they actually like want and need, but they don't know.
Yeah, it's I think we like as a photographer just know a lot of these
Yeah.
things just because we do it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And for the couples, as soon as they get engaged, then oftentimes even before they engage, they don't really know where to start just because they haven't been in that space before.
Yeah.
I guess that kind of brings up to the sort of like next question. How does this podcast aim to simplify the process of choosing a wedding photographer? Hopefully, we will be providing that sort of information. Hopefully, we will be able to provide some of the information that you may not come across in sort of general area
Yeah.
when you're scrolling on Instagram or when you're just watching some of the YouTube or listening to podcasts. You may not come across a lot of this information, but probably listening to this sort of podcast will help you to know what questions to ask to the photographers or to any vendors in that regard.
Oh, definitely. I think like being able to connect, we're a digital era and I love photo and I love video. And I think sometimes me, myself included, I don't want to read like just a giant like blog of all the information. Something like this is like a little bit easier to digest. And I mean, personality really comes through video, and that's why video consult I feel like is more important even than a phone call. To connect, you can see each other and then also like feel more comfy. Like I want them to be comfortable in front of the camera, and I think being able to present in this way kind of takes away like the mystery of booking a photographer, and then also
Yeah.
like your other vendors too, right? Doing the video consults is such a great way to like, these are people you're hiring too. A lot are like small businesses, and kind of getting a sense for like the vibe and like how you would interact on wedding day.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like I'm keep coming back to like the philosophy side of things. But when I talk about like philosophy, when I say the word philosophy, it sounds very serious, but it comes down to everything. Like how you smile and how you talk to people and how you react to each other's conversation, and what are some of the shared value, some of the shared like hobbies or things that you like to do in a similar neighborhood. So like for me, it's I've always struggled on that side of things just because like in Vegas, there are a lot of people who are just coming to Vegas to get married. There aren't
Oh
that
yeah.
there aren't there aren't that many there aren't that many couples who are local who's inquiring with me. So like
Oh,
when we
crazy.
when we talk about like when we do get on the consoles and things like that, there aren't anything that we talk about like I don't know, like I think a lot of people talk about like going to watch the Vegas Golden Knights and talk about the local sports and local weather and things like that.
Yeah.
Whereas me, like I'm like, yeah, we don't connect on that level. So it's quite fun in that sense, like because I do a lot of the destination weddings. Like when I say destination weddings, even if I photograph in Vegas, it's a destination wedding for the couple.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So for a lot of these consults, and the reason that it's nice to talk to people during the consultation calls, and you guys listen to this podcast right now, is probably making you guys understand a little bit more about me, a little bit more about Lisa. And that's what makes probably your wedding day 100 times better than just not knowing about them.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Why is it important to make decisions based on feelings, not just logic, when choosing a wedding photographer? I put this question in for the sake of I hope to make a lot of couples try to understand that it's not about just the numbers, and it's not just about like sometimes when couples start searching for wedding photographers, they look at how many hours of coverage that this photographer is going to provide, how many photos we're going to get, and how
Yes.
much it's going to be. There's a lot of different types of numbers and different facts that a lot of people try to compare with. But at the end of the day, it comes down to a lot of the things that you cannot really explain logically. This
Oh,
person
yeah.
is not as expensive, but I just like this person's style. Or,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of,
It's
yeah.
intangible. Like a lot of the things, like something I hear very often is like candid photos is what couples are looking for. And
Mhm,
sometimes I think they show me some images that aren't necessarily candid. They're maybe like a little set up by us,
mhm,
but it's like the emotional side of things that they're looking for. They
yeah.
really want to capture like the feelings of the wedding day. And I think like when you're choosing a photographer and they're really there for you and like the moments that you want captured, like
Mm,
they're there to like almost help navigate that. Like a lot of couples are just looking at doing like a first look with, their fiance and on
mm,
wedding day, which is always so sweet, but like maybe they don't even realize that they can do a first look with their dad. They can do a first look with like their whole bridal party. And like,
mm,
yes, we're doing like a little bit of setup to capture that, like making everybody turn around and then say like doing a reveal,
mm.
but we're capturing so many like raw emotions on the wedding day. I really think like any couple who's looking at wedding coverage maybe isn't looking at like, the moments they want captured and like how that's going to fit into the timeline. Like we're going to handle the more technical side of things, but we want to make
Mm.
sure we're able to capture all of those emotions on wedding day, like in a stress-free environment and like have
Yeah.
them to look back on.
Yeah. No, and I think I'm gonna just go a little bit on what you just mentioned about the first look, and it's completely true. Like, no one's
Yeah.
gonna say, like, none of the couple's gonna say, we're gonna take 10 photos at the first look with your husband to be, or with your dad, with your bridesmaids. But a lot of people may think because you're doing the first look with three different types of groups, it may be very similar, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
completely different when you're in that moment, when you know, like, when you know, when you're almost imagining walking towards your husband to be or whoever your partner is going to be, you're almost gonna think like how that person's gonna imagine, how that person's gonna react when you approach your dad, how your dad's gonna react, and how they react is gonna give you different types of emotion, different types of feeling. And with bridesmaids, it might be a little bit more joyous. Maybe they have seen you in your wedding dress before.
Yeah.
Maybe not, but maybe that's why it's called the first look. But everything is something that you cannot really put the numbers to.
Yeah.
And
Oh, definitely.
that's why I feel like doing a podcast like this and talking about something like this, and hopefully when we're just talking about these first look, I hope you guys were able to imagine what that would feel like on your wedding day. Being able to see that, being able to follow your gut instinct, gut feeling in terms of making decision on wedding photographers and things that you do on the wedding day will be probably the best decision that you make. Okay. What is your unique approach to wedding photography? Do you wanna have a go at this first?
Yeah. Um, well, like I was saying, myself and for you included, storytelling is really important and it can be super subtle. It's not something that we have to like, you know, um, do something crazy to plan for, but it's so sweet to like have the engagement session and maybe tie something in to make it unique to you two. And then like wedding
Mm,
day, kind of coming full circle with that. With the wedding photography specifically, I think, really having timeless imagery and being able to capture exactly what the couple wants is most important to me. To make time for those little moments, to have like all the emotions, the candid, and then also like the beautiful post portraits of, you know, all your closest family and friends. I think having something to look back on and share with everyone is so special, because like when do you get all of your closest friends and family together in one
Yeah.
space, like celebrating your love on like such a happy, beautiful day?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I could really provide that big of a difference in terms of different perspective. Yeah, I definitely agree with a lot of what Lisa said, and that's actually is one of the reasons that a lot of the photography style that I create is not very trendy. And what trendy means in with a little bit of twist is that it will go away at one point, and when it goes away, it will look in probably some area it can look a little bit tacky, or it could look just old fashioned. Old fashioned could be a good way. But yeah, so what I'm saying is if you want something, maybe, I don't know, 50 years down the road, you show your photos to your grandchildren, and your grandchildren says these are so pretty, and that means that it stood the test of time, and that is probably the definition of classic and being timeless. And I think that's what probably the best way to tell the stories in probably the most raw and probably the natural way as possible. And that's probably why you ask a lot of couples like what do they want, because
Yeah.
it would have to come from within them. You cannot enforce just because something looked pretty on Instagram. You know, we're not going to ask couples to do it if it's not really them.
Oh yeah. No, like and that's why like our approach, I mean, is so similar, and like being able to tell their story of like, I mean, we can totally recreate some of their favorite Pinterest posts. I love like a cute Pinterest moment.
Mm,
But like some of my couples that I've got to know, we've recreated like their family members like wedding photos as like a surprise, which is always so sweet. And like I had one couple who got married at like the church where their parents got married, and we recreated one of their photos. And like I don't do that with every couple, because not every couple, like that's something that's super important to them. Not everybody's getting married at like the same venue as where their parents got married. But because I got to know them and like, you know, ask them about their parents and like, why'd you pick this venue? Like they didn't like openly tell me that at the very beginning, but I found out through getting to know each other, and I was like, you guys, that would be so cute. Like we should absolutely do that. And then the same thing, I feel like we're both really creative at the same time. I know like blurry images are super popular right now.
mm.
And I do think like they can be so fun, and I love like the spinning or the running, but I still want to make sure I'm providing like the timeless photos of like, you know, when you look back on it, like not every moment's a blur.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Was just thinking about a lot of couple stuff, but yeah.
Oh yeah. No, it can get so fun. I have so many I'm so excited for like this year that are like, you know, and different, because I'm not trying to build my portfolio. I'm literally trying like to really do like unique stuff with like my couples that fits them. And I think you do the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
I loved the cherry blossoms and mountain photos. So fun.
It was. And it was quite amazing to see, even if we photograph together, what we get, I mean, with the same elements really, how we frame the couples, how we try to tell the stories in different ways.
Oh yeah.
It was quite fun to see.
Yeah, no, it's so I love second shooting and having a second shooter, because it's like what I see versus what they see versus,
Yeah.
one shot versus the other. It's so fun.
Yeah. The Instagram reel of that coming soon, hopefully.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And I think this is kind of brings up to the next question, which is how do you connect with the right couple through this podcast? Sort of like I was going to kind of say was that like what Lisa was telling you about how when couples mention a lot of these things in couples' mind and or couples' family mind, they don't really have creative way to tell that story or
Yes.
creative, they don't really know what to do with it. They don't
Yep.
know if this story or this piece of information is going to be any of a value. But if there's anything that you feel that's important, that's what we're there for. You know,
Yep.
we're not just people who go there just to click on camera.
Yes.
It's literally the whole planning, whole process, thinking process beforehand is what make us, we call it the creatives and probably a photographer by definition. And with the elements that we get, we can try to provide different look and different vibe and different things that will match you guys to complete that story. And in this podcast, I think we talked to a lot about the story side of things, and you could probably already hear in that anyone who favors and anyone who values the story side of things, just like all the photographers are not the same, and some photographers will value the story side of things more than some photographers valuing more on the imagery side of things. Not one way or the other is better. They all serves different type of people. Us doing this podcast is probably providing connection with couples and people who are somewhat similar to us. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
think like of course like the image quality is like really important in terms of like lighting and like having those classic timeless like portraits.
mm,
But I think like part of it is a lot of couples maybe at first don't open up as much. And so like the more we get to know you, the more we're going to be able to capture your authentic self. And, you know, a lot of couples say, oh, I think this might be silly. I'm like, no, tell me. Like, I would love to hear like what's important to you. Like, what do you do for a date night? Like, who are you as people? Like, you love books. Let's, you know, do your engagement in a bookstore. Like, how cute, you know? And it doesn't have to be stressful. Like, you don't have to worry about like the art side of things and like, you know, knowing anything about lighting. Like, we will, you know, capture it in like the most like authentic way. Like, we're going to put you in beautiful lighting, but you know, those emotions are something that we're just capturing like in the raw. And then same thing with like the storytelling. A lot of the times we're, you know, navigating in a way maybe they don't even see, but it brings so much value to them because the photos actually really represent them in the end. And it not isn't necessarily like a lot of planning on their side, but I love being able to like, you know, tie in the little moments that are special to the couple.
yeah, definitely. Yep. So, I mean, this was pretty much all the questions that I had ready for this particular podcast. But anything that you want to add? Is there anything that we're missing?
I think, you know, just people connecting, you know, really hope this speaks to some couples and helps them be their authentic self and can, you know, maybe take a little bit of the stress away from wedding day because it can be a really
Mm.
fun thing. Like, you
Oh yeah,
know, I
100%.
really
Yeah.
want them to be in the moment with their friends and family and just know that like we're here to capture their story. And like you said, we're going to be with them the entire day. Like
Yeah.
we're there to support them. Yeah, hopefully this helps answer some questions that they have and they can kind of see our approach and, you know, aren't afraid to be themselves.
Yeah, definitely. I guess we'll probably create a different podcast episode for this, but what would you say stresses out the couple the most on the wedding day?
I think like for me, it's been couples maybe that uh, have trouble with having enough time in the wedding day. Like that's
Mm.
the biggest part. That can be stressful if the timeline runs behind and we don't have enough time to capture everything they want. I always
Mm.
want to have like a stress-free day, but sometimes
Mm.
things do run behind and almost
Yeah.
every wedding something, you know, goes wrong and I think you know being flexible can really help reduce that stress but also having that buffer time
Mm.
to you know be in the moment and just like we have a timeline but that way we can go with the flow a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think it comes down to the like the sort of mindset as well.
Yep.
I think a lot of couples do try to be like perfect in like what they
Yeah.
plan and try to make everything look so pretty. I think anything that could go wrong, it's part of the fun, it's part of the day. And how, for us to document all those things, like even if there are things that do go a little bit different to how we have planned, that's okay. And I'll definitely tell you that story about the how the bride lost her wedding ring after the ceremony. That's for
Ooh,
another
that's like
episode.
I have nightmares about that. It has not happened, but I think, yeah,
Oh,
mindset is such
this,
a big thing. But I feel
yeah.
like that would be very stressful, even for me to
Oh,
be like, oh,
this wasn't before the wedding. This was after the ceremony.
yeah, that's
So
even,
it was in her finger, but it was a little bit big, and it slipped out. And she lost it on. But yeah, we end up finding it. So
okay.
happy ending. So what I had to do and all that sort of stuff, yeah, we'll definitely mention more about that in another episode. But I hope everyone enjoyed listening to this podcast. And hopefully you guys will come back to this very soon to the
Yeah.
next one and so on. All right. So
Until the next chapter.
that's a good one. But no. Before we do wrap up. If you're listening to this podcast for the very first time, we do have another member of this podcast. She couldn't be
Yes.
with us today. She had a
I feel like we should just Photoshop her in.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. So she'll probably be joining on the next one. If she's new to the next one, just don't be surprised. But
Yep.
okay. Well, thanks for chatting. Always fun time.
Yep.
All right. See you next one.
So good. All right. Bye. It's funny.